Yeah, I think that's what Haney does, is the same thing.
Yeah, I think so. He does. All right, we are now live on Facebook, so. Yeah, Mark's got a lot of energy. No, I just like to talk about like Mark, the entrepreneurial aspect. And he's been around for a long time, so obviously got a lot of experience.
Yeah, we
in
moved to
marketing.
Sacramento in 1968, so we just passed 50 years here.
So we'll go on the radio in about probably 5 minutes. There's a couple minutes after with all the commercials and stuff.
Yeah, I did Pat Walsh's show when we first opened the gun club. It was amazing.
Okay.
How many commercials you have to have in here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you on other boards?
Right now, I'm just the American River Bank, but you know, we have a holding company, which is American River Bank Shares. They have American River Bank, and then we have our own foundation, nonprofit foundation, which is American River Bank Foundation. So I'm on those three boards.
Okay.
And I'm on the board of Regent Business. I'm the incoming president of that board.
Okay.
It starts next week, actually. No, I think that's about it.
That's a lot.
It used to be more when I was younger and had more energy.
Right?
You know.
Yeah. What organization?
Non-profit boards.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Families First, if you ever ran into them, they were the largest foster care provider in the state. And a couple other youth, mostly I stand with my nonprofits with kids.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Same. I'm involved in UCP, and then also Keaton Child Cancer Alliance.
We've given them some money.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Should I put these on?
Yeah. All right, Jared, can you hear me? Test, test. Chet, go ahead.
Test, test, test. Test, test, test.
Five minutes.
You know I'm hearing stuff on here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, perfect. And where that plugs in, there's two knobs, and that's your volume on the headphones. So it gets a little louder when we're on the air.
Okay.
So.
Is there a left, right on this or not?
I don't know. It might say on the headphones. This one says left, right. So.
Gotcha. That guy was yelling in my ear.
He didn't want to do that. Yeah. So then, did you grow up here?
I did from 5th grade on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Moved here from Arkansas, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, Arkansas.
My dad was a test pilot
Oh.
at McClellan. That's how we got out here from Arkansas. Came out for a test pilot program.
Oh, interesting.
Ran into Buzz O's at church.
Uh-huh.
He had his uniform on. Buzz had been military.
Right.
Invited him, paid for his lunch. They got to talking. My grandfather had been involved in some real estate in Arkansas, but had retired out of Dairy Queen. He was president of the Dairy Queen International, actually.
Oh, really?
But he and a partner were franchisees of Arkansas and Louisiana.
Okay.
You know. But he sold out, and then my dad had been in the military, came back, stayed active in the National Guard. Got this. He loved to fly. That was his thing, and got this opportunity to come to. My parents always wanted to come to California, so they did. They got this opportunity. Came to McClellan, and the rest is history. Meets Buzz. You know, a year or so later, they finally get together and start their first little development together, and it was O's and Fite. So,
Right. Oh, wow.
and they split up their stuff when I got out of college in 1980, and it became Fite Development Company.
Okay.
But it was already Fite. I mean, when we started in 1970 was their first payroll. So,
Right, right.
so I claim that as the that's the genesis of the company.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
So yeah, interesting enough. You get into a business. You come in here in October of 1968, and you started in April of 1970. So things moved a lot faster back then.
Yeah. Any Dairy Queens remain in the family?
No. They said, so my grandfather told me this story. He goes, Ray Kroc came to him because Ray Kroc sold him the Mix Masters for the Dairy Queen store. If you ever saw that movie with, I think it's Tom Hanks or whatever.
I didn't see it.
But anyway, that's what it wasn't Hamilton Beach. It was another company, but he sold these Mix Masters for Sundays or shakes and malts and stuff like that. So they were in a meeting in Chicago, and so my grandfather, Ray contacted him and said, "Hey, Charlie, can I come talk to you in your room and about an opportunity?" He says, "I met these guys down in Southern California. These guys named McDonald Brothers, and I think Dairy Queen ought to do hamburgers with the stuff." And my grandfather says, "We're an ice cream deal. That's all we're going to do." He goes, "Well, what advice would you give me?" He says, "Our one big mistake is we leased all our land. Whatever you do, buy the real estate." And of course, the rest is history, because the biggest asset McDonald's has on their balance sheet is their real estate.
Well, yeah, McDonald's. I think Sears was that way, right? I mean, that was a big asset. I mean, that's certainly the way
Sears was done.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially once they sold out their real estate.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a good example.
Yeah. So
that's your biggest value. Wow, interesting.
So that was a little. My grandfather was very close to the vest. He shared very little with me on that stuff. So, but his partner's son is a developer in Orange County, and he gives me more information that I got from my own grandfather. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, I remember as a little kid being taken. My dad worked for him in the business, and 4 or 5 years old, gets set up on the counter in the back and getting an ice cream banana split. That was a big deal,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So how long is this thing total? How long is this total?
An hour.
Hour. Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5. I'm your host, Mark Bellows, of this weekly business talk show called Beyond the Numbers, where I bring in local business people, interview guests, various topics that have to do with business, entrepreneurship, Sacramento area, etc. And so I'm also in my normal day job. I'm a tax accountant, a CPA, and a principal with Clifton Larson Allen. CLA has offices throughout the U.S., including one in Roseville, which is where I sit. And I work with manufacturers and distributors, real estate investors and developers, and those types of businesses, their owners, on tax planning, tax strategy, that sort of thing. And so as we're getting into the new year and starting to work on people's taxes and looking at the effects of the new tax law people had on 18, including still more clarifications coming out from the IRS. The IRS came out with a couple weeks ago on the new parking fringe and how wide-reaching it is actually going to be in some surprising ways. So you can always get a hold of me at 916-784-7800, or you can email me at mark.bellows@claconnect.com. And this morning, my guest, looking forward to hearing from him and about him, is Chet Fite, president of Fite Development Company. Morning, Chet.
Good morning, Mark.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good. So tell us a little bit about what Fite Development Company is and does.
Well, we're currently a 49-year-old company, development company that's been vertically integrated all the way from the construction through land entitlements to property management, leasing, selling. Virtually everything that entails development. Started in 1970 in Sacramento.
That was started by your father.
My father, yeah.
So you guys came here. Tell us a little bit about your background. We were talking a little before we got in there.
Sure.
It was interesting. So.
Yeah, my family moved out here in 1968. My father was moved out as a test pilot at McClellan Air Force Base.
Okay.
And was doing some changeover of engines for NATO for the first generation jets. And they were trying to sell those to some of the NATO countries. But yeah, one of his first weekends here, he met Buzz Oates in church and had his uniform on. And Buzz, being a former bombardier in World War II, always had an affinity for the military, and
right.
Walked up to my father, introduced himself, and took him to lunch, and the relationship started there. And they started a business together shortly thereafter, and actually we still have a couple pieces of property with the Buzz Oates family.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Buzz is certainly it had a big impact on this region and business, and so it's good to be your family worked with him.
Right.
And you guys probably have. Well, Fite Development company has done a lot over the years.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it has a huge impact on this region as well.
Our main thrust was out on Highway 50.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even before the first buildings were built, before 50 was completed, back in 1970, and done a lot of work in Woodland, Stockton, the 50 corridor, mainly, and everything from pure retail to pure office to industrial to flex space. We've mapped residential. We're not residential builders, but we've done lot.
Right.
Yeah, we've done lot mapping and development, and then we'll keep the retail or the business park of it and sell the lots off.
Maybe go into that a little bit, if you would explain for listeners how that works. So you buy a big chunk of land, and then what do you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally you buy some land, you get it entitled, which really means get it if it's zoned something that's not usable for commercial use. You go through the rezoning process to do that, and usually there's a multiplicity of zoning components to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we didn't do the residential building per se, but what we would do is to take the component part of it and map that out for home builders and map the lots out and then sell them a mapped piece of property, because all that legwork has been done and all that time has already been expended. So they can pretty much go in and do that. Then we would retain the rest of it and build, whether it's warehouse or office flex space or retail or whatever the need was. So it's a mixed use type of development.
Yeah, and whereabouts in town did you guys do that?
Elk Grove, we've done that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, back out in Rancho Cordova, we've done that. We've done that in Stockton, and other locations as well.
Okay. But your main focus is really the industrial, commercial office. Is that?
I would say now, yeah. The thing about office space is the re-tenanting costs are really expensive, as you can imagine, with all the TIs. And with the construction costs and labor costs going up, the tenant improvement costs have really exponentially grown. It's much easier to re-tenant a industrial type building, a fire hose and a can of paint.
Yeah, you can just imagine that space is a lot less complex in terms of tenant improvements, TIs, than an office.
Correct.
Yeah, when you have to maybe tear down walls and re-put in doors and all that kind of stuff. So.
And the codes change all the time, and ADA has been just a huge expense for all property owners.
Right.
Because it changes from every few years.
Well, and sometimes it can change from. I've heard different developers say that the inspector or the one who approves your ADA, their interpretation can vary some too.
People are people.
Yeah. So you have to deal with that as well.
Yeah.
So it's challenges you guys face and you have to overcome.
Certainly.
As you're developing and position a property for sale. Now, do you develop some and hold, or do you guys typically develop the first resale?
No, mostly we've held.
Okay.
We manage our own portfolio of properties that we have built. Everything that we manage, we've built.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you guys have a lot of doors under. You probably don't call it residential. They call it doors.
No,
under
we have a
management
lot
use.
of tenants. We
Tenants,
have a number of projects around, and we everything, like I said, everything from industrial to pure office.
So how big then is your management company?
Well, we try to keep. I've got under 50 people.
Okay.
Is what I always say.
Mm-hmm.
But we take care of. You can imagine that all the reporting requirements that everybody else goes through, we go through as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep having to add personnel to take care of all the regulatory requirements.
Yeah. Well, California.
Yeah.
Right? In California, a beautiful state, and there's lots of positive aspects to it. And so, and I think as I mentioned this many times before, I think our legislators know that, and so there's not a lot of impetus to make things easier for business. And so there are challenges with regulatory stuff. It's California specific, not just federal. So
yeah, oh for sure. You know, I grew up in the construction side of the company, working on the concrete crew, and it kind of reminds me of having my concrete boots, trying to run into concrete with all the regulations in California.
Yeah, how's that work out?
Not well.
Not well.
Usually fall on your face.
Right. Yeah, that's the challenge. That is definitely a challenge. But companies like yours that figure out how to meet those challenges.
We do.
Still get stuff done.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, we're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We're talking to Chet Fite, the president of Fite Development Company. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers. We'll be right back. Great. Facebook Live's not working. Technology.
Yeah.
That's weird. This one's a short one, the next one's a little longer. It's there.
You bored yet?
What's that?
I said, are you bored yet?
No. We're just getting started. And we're back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5. I'm your host, Mark Bellows, a weekly business talk show here. And I'm a tax principal, a CPA with Clifton Larson Allen. CLA's got offices throughout the U.S., including one in Roseville, which is where I reside. I work with real estate developers and investors, manufacturers and distributors. I work with the companies, their owners, tax planning, tax strategy, that sort of thing. And today my guest on the show here is Chet Fite, the president of Fite Development Company. So Chet, so your father started the company.
Correct.
And then did you join right out of high school, or did you go to college, or what? Tell us a little bit about your path.
I started working summers from the time I was 16, so I could drive to the construction site on the construction crew,
right.
The concrete crew, framing crew, whatever it was. And so every summer all the way that through college. And then after college, I started in the development side full time.
Okay, where'd you go to college?
I went to Oral Roberts University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you get a degree in?
Business management.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So then you came, where's Oral Roberts at?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So back to your southern roots.
Yeah, exactly.
Came from Arkansas and then back to Oklahoma. But you came back here and joined the company then?
Correct.
Did you say in the concrete side?
No. In 1980, I came back and got into the office. It was nice to get into an air-conditioned environment as opposed to, out on the job site, and started just trying to learn the business, from there. I mean, you think you know something when you're 22, but you don't really.
Yeah. So how much longer did you work with your father before he retired?
Well, he's
or is he still
sort of retired,
okay.
but he comes in and out.
Oh, nice.
He's 86 now.
Okay. So still involved in the business.
In a manner of speaking. He says he's retired until he's not.
So did when you got involved in the company and started moving up the chain, if you will, did anything change in the way you guys did things? Did you bring any kind of different perspective to it?
Back then it was still, we still had fairly easy time getting things zoned and built and construction costs. Now they had, look, when I got out of school in 1980, you got to remember back that the prime rate was 18 or 20%.
Right.
So
Yeah,
the thing about doing any kind of development was it had to be done as fast as possible, because you're paying that interest at that huge amount.
Right.
So the old time is money really hit home on that. So the deal was get it built, get it leased as fast as you can, so you can cover your mortgage payment on it, your loan payment on it. So we were pretty fast at getting what we did. And we had land. My father had acquired land in different places over the years back in the 70s, and so now was the time to build it. And we built a lot in the early 80s, a lot.
And then you continued through.
Yeah, up until 92, the recession hit and stuff. So we curtailed that back a little bit, managed our own portfolio, build onesie twosie things here and there, and then this last recession was tough. We haven't built anything in a while, but we've kind of bought and sold things, and I think this year I've got some buildings I'd like to build, some industrial buildings out in the Rancho Cordova area. It'll be the first time they've had anything in the Cordova in I think 11 years. That recession was pretty tough.
And as we were talking off air, you're seeing a movement out of Sacramento into some of the outlying areas in terms of.
Well, yeah, the reason being is, Sacramento, particularly the Power End corridor down there, has been very much open arms for the cannabis business. And with all that goes along with that, they're willing to pay a much higher rent than traditional companies have been willing to pay. So a lot of small people have been displaced, and they're looking for space.
Priced out of the market.
Priced out of the market. Well, with construction costs the way they were, we weren't able to build new product and make the economics work. But with all the rents going up, we're now to that point where we've hit the sweet spot, we've hit the break-even spot where we can lease a new building at new construction cost and make it work.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So you're gonna do some building this year?
Yeah, we are.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys will build and hold that.
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay. Well, good.
Yeah.
So, in addition to being with your company, you're also involved in some community type stuff. So maybe tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm chairman of the board of American River Bank Foundation.
Okay.
We've been in existence. The foundation's been in existence for 13 years, 14 years. We've given away in excess of $1 million to nonprofits in the area which we do business. That would be Sonoma County, Sacramento, Placer, and Amador County.
Okay.
And we focus on nonprofits that help women and children, because they're the most disenfranchised in our society.
Right.
So we've done that. I'm chairman of the board of American River Bank. We're a 35-year-old local community bank. Very excited with that. We're doing great. Even tough time through the recession, but everybody did, and we've come out of that. And we're doing fabulous.
Now, have you been involved with American River Bank for a lot of years?
25 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
25 years.
Yeah.
And so, so you're now the chairman of the board?
I became chairman in 2001.
Oh, so you've been chairman of the board for quite a while. What does that entail? What's your duty as chairman of the board?
Governance is really, and compliance, assuring compliance. As you can imagine, banking is highly regulated by a number of different regulatory agencies, and it ultimately resides on the board's shoulders, the responsibility for the health of that institution. So we take it very seriously, and we spend a lot of time vetting, the loan process. We spend time vetting the compliance. You can imagine post 9/11. The Patriot Act and stuff like that, big thing on that we have to deal with. Yeah. And we're publicly traded, so we've got SEC as well.
Right.
And so there's a lot of learning. We have self-imposed continuing education for the board members, because we want to we do take it seriously.
Right. How many board members are there?
8.
8. Okay. Are they all owners?
Oh, everybody's a shareholder.
Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
That's a requirement.
Okay. Gotcha. All interesting stuff there. So, and it's been through, over the last couple of recessions, I know that regulations get tight because that's a reaction, and then they kind of loosen up. Then they get tight again and kind of loosen up. And so you guys have had to be able to deal with that. Do you have, I'm sure the bank has regulatory people.
Oh, full time.
Yeah.
You had to, particularly post, once the recession in 2008, hit, there was a a lot of regulatory requirements.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So personnel have to be hired for compliance issues and things like that. So it's expensive. We're 675 plus or minus million. I don't think a bank much smaller than us could afford to hire the compliance people that we have to have on staff.
Right. And do you guys? Is there any particular area that you provide credit to, or is
Well, we're a business bank.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not a retail bank. We're a business bank. So if you've got any kind of business in the communities, we want to take a look at it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
So not a retail bank, meaning you don't have branches or people can.
We have branches, but we don't have a lot of branches.
Okay.
But we don't do car loans, and we don't
Okay.
do home mortgages, and we don't do credit cards. We have some executive credit cards for some of our
Sure.
business borrowers, but it's mostly like your line of credit for your business for interim capital needs, or your equipment loan, or real property loans, stuff like that.
Right.
Construction loans.
So if you don't do home loans, so that's good. You weren't negatively
No.
impacted,
No.
after the big recession.
Right.
So I know a lot of banks had extended themselves that way, and that was a problem. So American River Bank, you've been involved with that for a long time, and then also you're a region business.
I am. I've been involved with region business for I think the last 5 years, and this month I'm the incoming president of the board. And we've had some exciting things that we've done there with the region business. We've set up these trade associations under the umbrella of the region business group, and so we've got region builders and region restaurant and region finance and etc. And we've really been able to help those particular arenas of business people through these associations.
Yeah, Joshua Wood was on the show a few months ago. Roosevelt Cooper as well, and so they both are part of that. Yeah, Joshua's been a dynamic, I think, leader of that organization.
Oh, no question.
Seen it grow. Yeah,
no question.
Yeah, he was interesting, good guest to have on. So I've been seeing him kind of grow that over the years. So you've been involved for 5 years now?
I believe so. Yeah.
How did you get involved in that one? Do you remember?
A friend of mine who was on the board said, "You got to join this."
Recruited you.
Yeah, he recruited me, so that's how it worked.
Oh, good. So, how big is Fite Development Company? Size, number of employees, let's say.
Well, we've got a multiple group of businesses, but all told, we're just a little over 50 people.
Okay.
We've got an insurance repair division, separate company that works with all the carriers.
Okay.
And we will have 70 plus jobs going at any one time. If your house floods, you have a fire, whatever,
Right.
we work with the homeowner and the insurance company, and we're one of the preferred contractors with these insurance carriers
Okay.
for doing the repairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, do you do that after fire as well? Like
Oh, absolutely.
Paradise,
Yep.
for instance, up in that area?
I know my partner on that is talking to the carriers up there. The issue up there is that a lot of people were of advanced age. They don't have the stomach to try to rebuild, so a lot of people are just taking whatever they could get from their carrier and moving to someplace else that's already there. Same thing happened in Santa Rosa.
Right. Well, so what if that's going to be then some opportunity if someone wanted to get into that area? There should be lots for sale.
I would think so.
Potentially, yeah.
What I have heard anecdotally is Chico is booming because they're moving to someplace they feel a little less isolated.
Yeah. So Chico would be interesting times. That's so what do you see down the line for Fite Development Company?
Well, right now we're going to build some new buildings. We're always looking for opportunities. We do live in California. Everybody's kind of holding their breath to see what we can do. Working through region business, we're working with all the municipalities in the area to try to make within California the Sacramento region to be the go-to place.
Right.
Again, anecdotally, actually we see from talking to real estate brokers and some of the big companies from the Bay Area, Sacramento's a flyover. And what I mean by that is they fly over us to go to Nevada or Arizona or Tennessee or Texas. And somehow we have got to differentiate ourselves from those places because we can't eliminate the state income tax, the exorbitant state income tax. But how do we make ourselves the most attractive place within the state of California? Because as you already alluded to, what a wonderful climate we have. Today may not be that, but what a wonderful climate. What wonderful resources we have. I mean, that's the why California is so attractive. It attracted my family, 50 years ago.
Right.
So how do we still stay in California but be successful? And we can all play the game if the rules don't change mid-game. It's when the rules change mid-game is a problem, because if you've performed something out based on a certain assumption that exists now, and it's changed along the way, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. And that's the challenge. It's one of the many challenges that we face.
Yeah.
Do you guys, we're going to go to the commercial in a minute, but real quick, do you guys look to other places outside California, or have you looked at
I'm starting to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a number of clients that are doing that as well, trying to diversify in a lot of different areas, but looking outside California, find some good, viable options out there, which is unfortunate, but California, the market here is just tough, so to do business in. So, okay, we're going to take a break and listen to Beyond the Numbers. We'll be right back.
Yeah, along those lines, man, we took a tour to Phoenix last year with Region Business. Yeah. Unbelievable pro business over there.
Is that right?
Do I have time to run and get a cup of water?
You do. Yep, we've got a couple minutes to go. But even this is nothing, weather-wise.
Yeah. Oh no.
Talk to our people that I've talking to people all the time in Minnesota and Iowa and Ohio, and it's just like Pittsburgh, or they're like, yeah, we're in the low 50s today with a little bit of rain. They're like, oh really?
Yeah, my son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter live in D.C. and.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I like that city. You guys visit them?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, as much as we can. She's our only granddaughter, so only grandchild.
I like that city. There's some neat stuff there.
Oh,
I mean, obviously the Smithsonian's and all the museums and stuff. Great stuff to see.
Great restaurants, great things.
Yeah,
It's a happening place. They live right in the district. They're renting a place, and it's just hellacious expensive though.
Oh yeah, I bet it is.
So.
Yeah, that's a great. I was there, 99 maybe. I was working on. I was with Pricewaterhouse at the time, and I was on like a 6-week gig there with their national office. And so, a buddy of mine, they lived in Manassas, Virginia, and so I'd take the train out every weekend and spend the weekend with him. It was my goddaughters.
It's amazing how that country just opens up out there, isn't it?
It is,
It's lush and green.
Yeah.
And depending on what time of year you're at, but.
Yeah, it's neat to see, and then we went exploring some weekends, and here's the canal. I mean, George Washington was a canal builder before being our president, so here's one of the canals he built back in the 1700s. In California, our history is just not that old. And then we went to Italy 2 years ago, and you go there and you see stuff that's 600 years old. Like, wow.
You see stuff that's
or more
2,000 years old.
Yeah.
In Rome.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I always laugh at this. There's a restaurant pub in London called the old Cheshire Cheese. It was Dickens' favorite place. But the sign above the door says rebuilt in 1667.
Rebuilt.
And the reason it was rebuilt in 1667 was because the Great Fire of London was in 1666, so they had to rebuild it.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So Charles Dickens, they got his seat, they got a little plaque there. You go sit on these seats and they're all cut from so many butts being
400 years of. Yeah, that history's so interesting. Jerry, we on? All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers. I'm on 105.5. This is your host, Mark Bellows, weekly business talk show. I'm a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen. CLA is a national CPA firm with offices throughout the U.S., including one here in Roseville, which is where I reside. If you want to get a hold of me, it's mark.bellows@claconnect.com, or you can call me at 916-784-7800. My guest today is Chet Fite with Fite Development Company, who's so their 49th year this year.
Yes.
A big 50-year celebration next year.
Coming up.
Chet's father started the company, and he's now working in it, and your father is still involved in the business, which is awesome.
Yep.
That's great. Maybe talk us through a couple of like challenges that you face. You have faced, you do face. You know, always kind of like to try to get some entrepreneurs like yourself to talk about like what challenges they face and how they overcome them.
You know, I think the regulatory requirements that come down from the state sometimes are out of touch.
Have you seen that? I mean, I think that's gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
But can you pinpoint a time when would it get worse in the '90s or the aughts, or I mean?
Oh, I think the last 8 years.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, have been.
Well, the next 4 could be.
Yeah, I mean, it's here's an issue like for the water resources people. It's like I have one particular piece of property of which it has laid fallow for quite a while, but I put in all the storm drain retention stuff and everything, and because of some regulatory changes, I was running up against a deadline that if I didn't get the plans in, which fortunately we did, that 50% of the water that it gets rain on can't go into the storm drain system, of which I already spent the money and paid for, and have been paying for close to 30 years.
Right.
Had to be retained on site. So if you got to retain the storm drain or the water that from a rain, now it's called rain events, by the way. Now it's not just rain anymore; it's a rain event. That has to be stored on site. So you can imagine that if I've got it
For how long?
That I don't know.
What do you do with the water when you store it on site? Let it evaporate?
You have to have a cistern. You have to. I mean, think about the cost of building a cistern or a retention facility. So what you do is you also lose buildable square footage, right?
Of course.
So it's a double whammy. One, I got to spend all the money for this retention structure of some sort.
Yeah.
Plus, then I lose income-producing square footage. So I'm losing twice. Those are the kind of things that because of the recession, I couldn't build out the property because economically it didn't make sense.
Right.
Now I get to the point where I can, and then these new laws go in that then again push you back from being economically viable.
Right.
And that seems to be where we are in this state. It's like you get to the point, okay, now I think we can get it done, and some new set of regulations comes down.
And so one of the things that entities like Region Business are doing, I mean, they do some lobbying, right? Am I thinking about
They'll do lobbying. Their advocacy.
Okay.
We do. We try to, through our executive director plus the board members, we do try to influence people and say, hey, look, I can't. You want income for your city. Let's just take City X. You want revenue because you haven't seen much increase in revenue because of the recession over the last 10 years. So now we want to build something that's going to give you tax increment revenue. It's going to create more jobs. It's going to create more spending, etc. But you've now put this handcuff on me that I have to pay you X amount up front before I can even. I can't build a spec building anymore. Spec building is speculative.
Yeah.
And that's normally that was what we did. 99% of our building over the 49 years has been spec. Okay.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore because one, who's going to come here, and particularly at the price being higher than I can go to Northern Nevada. If I don't have to be in California, why am I going to be here?
So what do you do instead of building spec buildings, like the ones in you're looking at?
You either wait. Oh, those I am going to build spec
Okay.
because we finally crossed that line where now I'll take the risk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can convince a lender to take the risk along with me, but we own the property free and clear, so it's I'm putting a lot of equity into it, so the leverage ratio works pretty well. But other than that, you wait for a tenant. You try to snag a tenant. You try to find somebody that wants to build a suit. If you look in the last 10 years in this region, what's been built, anything in the commercial side, industrial side that wasn't already tenanted. Most of these things are institutionally driven by, whether it's a healthcare industry
Right,
or
right.
whatever it is, somebody's already saying, I want that building. It's not, I build it and it will come.
So spec building is really decreased.
Oh, it's virtually non-existent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's over the last
No, 10 years.
10
yeah.
years.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges you guys are working your way through.
Absolutely.
What about other ones? How about with with personnel, employees?
Well, that's always a challenge. You know, in the construction business, it's not as sensitive to other anecdotally what I hear from some of my colleagues in different businesses and stuff. But construction-wise, it's hard to find people.
Yes.
Because the Bay Area has been so busy,
Right.
that they have pretty much sucked everybody over. But the first half of the recession, there was no jobs anywhere, right? So where did these people go? We looked at a project in outside of Reno about 3 years ago, and my construction partner was calling and getting numbers for. We were bidding some plans that we had drawn, and at least 50% of the subs that he called and the folks that he called in the construction trades were relocators from Sacramento that we had done business with down here. So that's where people left. They had to.
Yeah.
Gotta have
Well,
a
there's
job.
a lot going on in outside Reno at the
Yeah.
time as well. I don't know if it's still the same, but there certainly was a lot then.
Yeah, Tesla's up there,
Yep.
and Switch is up there, and there's still a lot of development up there.
Yeah. So to address that, have you guys changed the way you train people or benefits, or I mean, do you have to look at retention and all that?
We're kind of small potatoes. The bigger subs, and we don't have our own crews anymore. So I'll get a framing crew, and I'll get a concrete crew, and these are all subcontractors, and the electrical, mechanical, and stuff. That'll all be subcontractors. So are they having trouble? Sure.
Yeah.
They're all having trouble finding people, and for me to get bids on even on these new buildings, it's taken me months because I can't get people to respond.
Right. So you said you guys don't do that anymore. When did you switch from doing that? So at one time you had.
We had everybody. Probably 93, 94 when
Okay.
that last recession hit and stuff. When things really slowed down, because you're trying to keep everybody working, and there wasn't the ability to do that.
Yeah, it's challenging. So you kind of switched the model then from
Correct.
having your own to subbing it out to
Yeah.
others. How about other challenges? How has been like with the management of the business, training people, retaining people? Have you had good luck with that? Have you had challenges with that?
I've got a really good group of people. I've got one guy that's been there for 37, 38 years.
Wow.
I've got a lot of people that are 20 years plus. So we're pretty stable. So I've been very fortunate with that. That I've got people that I can trust. So if I walk out the door, I'm not worried.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
Well, certainly with lots of businesses, it can be a challenge. But just maybe some of the things you've learned in business. Not that you.
Oh man. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
You got to be patient. I've learned that over the years. I was much less patient when I was younger. And I guess that's.
So maybe talk a little bit about like how the patience, where you display that, in what types of situations are you thinking of?
Well, I go into a project now knowing that I'm not going to get it done in the timeline in which I thought I could get it done. Okay. So you've got a plan, with a contingency cushion time-wise. Now we've been very fortunate being in a low interest rate environment, so that wasn't back to what I was saying about the 80s. Not so critical. I mean, you could not survive in this market with interest rates like that.
Yeah.
I think that argument's going on right now with the Fed and the business world right now. It's like, hey, we can't do this if you're going to keep upping these rates.
It's not going to work.
So yeah, you understand that it takes a lot longer. You understand you're going to find surprises along the way, and I always interject. And I hate to say this, but it's the stupid factor. There's always going to be something that comes up that should never have it ever come up, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
So
Yeah.
you kind of got to go roll with the punches and go with the flow and keep your eye on the goal.
Yeah. And do you find that you more roll with the punches now than you did earlier in your career?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By learning
Well, it's kind of the been there, done that
Yeah,
thing, you know?
yeah.
It's like when you haven't done it before, you go, well, this doesn't make any sense. And you know, I have some young people that work for me. They're going, well, this is ridiculous. And I keep saying, well, yes, it is.
It is.
But
Deal with it.
you're going to have to do it because
Yeah.
now you're realizing that this is what the world's like.
Right. Yeah, that can definitely be a bit of a challenge to manage that.
Right.
I think, and so that's an important, and that's a part of your role as the company president, as running the business, is you have to manage those types of things with all kinds of people. So
Right.
younger, and not just younger, but I think so. Well, we're talking today with Chet Fite with Fite Development. If you want to get a hold of Chet, you can email him at cdfite, F-I-T-E, cdfite at Fite Properties, F-I-T-E properties.com. Chet's the president there, and so he'd be happy to take your email and answer your questions. And if you want to get a hold of me, my number is my name, Mark Bellows. It's mark.bellows at claconnect.com, and the phone number is 906-784-7800. We're going to go to commercial. We'll be right back.
Gotta be careful. I'm on the radio. I gotta be careful what I say.
So far, it seems to be all right.
At least it's not a call-in. Oh my Lord! That thing with Pat Walsh for the gun club.
Uh-huh.
You can imagine.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, at 8 or 9 o'clock, somebody's already had a six-pack and they're calling.
No, this used to be. I mean, there's a phone number to call in, but I don't give out the number anymore. I just try to keep things going. So when Facebook seems to be working, sometimes you get questions on there.
Oh, okay.
For today, nothing's going. So, but yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Well, you know, it's not that I don't want to offend the people down at the State House, but I do want, because
Yeah.
they need to get.
Morning, everybody. Back to Beyond the Numbers on Monday 105.5. I'm your host, Mark Bellows. Today, we're talking with Chet Fite with Fite Development Company, a company that's now 49 years old in its 49th year. And Fite does industrial, commercial, and office development, leasing, that sort of thing. And tell us where you guys have properties, where your various locations that you have that you're leasing.
Mostly the Bradshaw 50 area.
Okay.
We've got some, still got some down in Elk Grove, down north of Grant Line. And we've got little pieces of land here and there, but that's mostly the Rancho Cordova area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you have vacancies?
Same place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
Same place.
people are looking for space in those areas.
Yeah, Bradshaw and 50. We've got some stuff over by off the freeway, some retail that has got some great visibility there. We've got some space available there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got some retail there. Any other vacancies?
We actually have, where my office is the old winery on Folsom Boulevard.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen that. We did a rehab of that years ago, and it's a really cool little place. But we've got little office suites available there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any others? Is that
That's it. The
That's
industrial's
it.
pretty full. So
Right.
I've got little office place here and there, but that's why we're going to build some more industrial.
And when do you anticipate having those ready to lease out, ready for tenancy?
Oh, probably end of the year.
End of the year,
I would
okay.
hope.
Yeah. Going back to what we talked
Yeah.
about, your patience.
You're
and
right.
So
Exactly.
any there could be first part of 2020. But
It could be.
Yeah. So what do you see as like the health or the where do you see the Sacramento region right now, business wise? I know you mentioned that off the air that you've done gone to some stuff with GSAC, and so you get to
Region business.
Yeah, region business, all the stuff you're involved with. So
Well, California is so diverse, and I think we want to embrace that, but I think we need to take a sober look and say, okay, we are not the Bay Area, we are not Southern California, we're more representative of the entire valley being one, cohesive, homogenous group. But it's a separate mentality than the rest of the state. And I think it needs to be treated that way and, given greater importance from the capital, in that the people in the valley cannot afford the same burden of taxation that the people, working for Google or Facebook can, right?
Yeah.
So there's got to be some kind of variation on this and say, okay, look, these places need some help economically. How do we drive businesses there? If we want to keep them in the state, we need to assist those local municipalities to make that happen. And so the state really needs to get involved in the economic development of these smaller towns, whether it be the Sacramento, County of Sacramento, San Joaquin County, Fresno County and stuff like that. But there's great opportunity, there's great people in these places. There's just no really viable, it's not exciting there. And how do we build that? We've got to draw those people, because you don't want them just, heading over the border someplace else. We're losing, California, if you look at the statistics, particularly in the Sacramento region, we're losing our middle class.
Right. Oh yeah.
And that's a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, well, I don't want to put you on the spot. I was going to say, how much longer do you expect to stay involved in the business? I don't want to put you on the spot on that one. But do you anticipate expanding the business or changing in any way in the next few years?
I'm opportunistic in that. So if there's an opportunity that comes out, in front of us that makes viable sense, we will certainly take a look at it. I'm not opposed to expanding. I'm not opposed to contracting if that's the thing to do. But I want to do something that's meaningful for me. Supports the folks that work for us, my family. I got to look at my life in total. Right. And not just the business thing.
Yeah. Of course. You have 3 children?
I have 3 children.
All grown?
All grown, yeah. Okay. And I got 1 granddaughter. And so I definitely want to make time out of my schedule to, of course, spend time with my granddaughter.
Yeah. So you're starting your year, is it a 1-year term for region business? Or how many years?
It's a 1 to 2 year term.
1 to 2, okay. All right. So what goals do you have as the president this year with part of that?
Well, I'll tell you what, we've put together a committee on homelessness. We need to, as the business community, participate in solving this blight on our society. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it is, these people need help. Yeah. But it needs to be looked at it organically and in full spectrum. That's the problem we've run into. I've done a lot of work analysis on it over the last 2 years, and we have lots of nonprofits doing a lot of things, but they're all in their own silo. Yeah. And we need to get everybody to come together and say, how do we solve this as a community? And we got to get multiple communities to do this, because if you create an island that draws everybody, that's where they're going to go. So everybody in the region has got to participate on the same program. But I've one of my partners with Region Business, co-directors, we've talked to other areas who've done this and have been successful. So we just need to follow those models and take a look at it. But it's, like I said, it's hard to get everybody on the same page. Oh, yeah. That's one thing. That's second thing, goal. It is critical on all sorts of levels. Yes. Business levels, moral levels, societal levels, safety levels. Yes. All those levels, it's really, really important. So we really want to make an impact at that. The second thing we're going to work on is transportation infrastructure. Sacramento was the stepchild in a lot of ways from previous administrations on having right-of-ways bought, having everything. We would have a crosstown freeway that was sold off after it was bought. Our regional transit system needs to go, if we're going to have one, it needs to go where people live. We need to build right-of-ways, take right-of-ways, go to where people reside, or we go out to the greenfield areas and we build that like Portland did. They put their light rail in between 2 freeways going east-west, and everybody built to the light rail stations. But they anticipated having that as the ability to get into downtown Portland. Right. We could do that on the undeveloped areas. Where it goes now, it doesn't really. And safety is a big issue with that.
Absolutely.
And so those are kind of the 2 things. I'm a proponent of light rail going to the airport.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Yes. You could link, you could link Golden London with the airport, make that very easily accessible.
Easily, yeah.
So, Sacramento's great. It's a beautiful downtown. Unfortunately, the way it's with the residential encroachment, there's not a lot of expansion you can do there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to think about going out to the suburbs and doing different things out there.
Well, it sounds like a couple ambitious goals, which is great. I mean, you got to aim big, I think.
I think you do. What we've seen, I was in Indianapolis a couple of years ago, and their convention center is approaching 3 million square feet.
Wow.
They have over 4,000 hotel rooms linked that you don't have to go outside. They got walkways in this event.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asking their convention authority, I said, how did this start? And they told, this group of guys started and they had a 40+ year plan. That's what we've got to do here.
Right.
We need to take on a vision that's at least 40 years. I won't see it, but my grandkids will see it.
Of course, yeah.
And that's the way we need to have. We need to have some vision leadership that says, okay, it's not for me, but it's for posterity.
Yeah, the next generation, the generation after that.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think that those, I mean, the homelessness, as you mentioned, is endemic. Everywhere you go, everywhere I go, I see it.
Yeah.
So it certainly is not just our area that has it, but we need to do something. And so I think involving the communities, as you mentioned, is a great way to. Well, the communities and business leaders is a great way to approach it, to get started approaching. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys can come up with. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, there's so many facets to it. From employment issues to substance abuse issues. The opioid crisis is huge. I went to the opioid summit at Sac State a couple months ago.
Right.
Statistics are over 72,000 people in this country died last year of opioid overdose.
That's incredible.
So, we've got to be sober and address this whole thing.
Yeah.
As a whole, and get everybody. And we got to quit pointing fingers at, well, I do this and you do that. No, we all do it together.
Yeah, it's got to be collaborative.
It's got to be collaborative.
Any successful endeavor has got to be collaborative.
Exactly.
That's same thing with transportation. It's got to be collaborative.
Absolutely.
But I think that could really go a long way to opening Sacramento up and kind of increasing its
no question.
Attractiveness
Yeah.
to outside investors, outside players, and people who want to continue to come into this area. Because Sacramento has a lot to offer. I mean, it really has a lot to offer.
It does.
It just needs to be managed differently, better. I don't know, differently. Well, that's great. So good luck on that. I think that it's an ambitious plan. I think, but it's a start, which you have to. Someone's got to start it. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts on your part?
No, I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
Again, if you want to get a hold of Chet Fite, he's the president of Fite Development Company. You can email him at cdfite@fiteproperties.com, and Fite is spelled F-I-T-E, so cdfite@fiteproperties.com. So what if someone wanted to get more information on the American River Foundation? Is it American River Bank Foundation? What's it?
Yeah, they can go to AmericanRiverBank.com and
AmericanRiverBank.com.
Yeah, and click on the link for the foundation.
Grant applications. Is that
Absolutely,
kind of
it's all there. Yeah, all
We're
there.
involved in a couple organizations, and so I think we'll
Yeah.
continue to look at those. Okay, good.
Good.
Thanks, Jeff, for being on the
All right.
show. I appreciate it. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
Mark.
Talk to you later, everybody.